Nobody tells you that the most important relationship you will ever have is with yourself and with your body. Self-woundings are really those blessings that come in the form of a wound that once you notice, pay attention to, and heal, become the real blessings. You are a precious, beautiful, perfectly imperfect, I'll say, beloved child of the divine, mystery, sacred, benevolent universe, whatever word you want to use. And so there is nothing wrong with you.
Hey everyone, it's Sophia from Sacred You. Thank you so much for being here. A quick message before we dive into today's conversation. You may have been watching the podcast videos but have not had a chance to hit that subscribe button. So if you have ever gained value from our videos, from our conversations, it would mean so much to us if you would hit that subscribe button below right now, or even just give us a like. And what that means is not only does it allow us to grow our subscriber base, but it allows us to bring in more important guests for you to listen to. And you will be one of the first ones to be notified. So please hit that subscribe button and let's get started on today's conversation. Welcome to the Pathways to Wellbeing podcast. My name's Sophia from Sacred You, and today I am excited. I have a very special guest, Judy Slater, with us in today. So Judy, thank you so much for joining us for today's episode.
It's my pleasure. Thank you, Sophia.
I'm really looking forward to it because your topic is something that really speaks to my heart. It's all about the relationship with ourselves and the most important relationship that we have, and it's so true. And Judy, you're passionate about integrating spirituality, healing, and the creative arts, right? And your work helps people move from self-wounding to self-wonderful. I love that, self-wonderful. So tell us, Judy, tell us a little bit, what first inspired you to walk this path, this edge between the spiritual and the creative, and how has the relationship with yourself become such a central focus in your work?
I think the first statement that I'll say is nobody tells you that the most important relationship you will ever have is with yourself and with your body. And as a young child, my body wasn't cooperating. And of course, later I found out I had celiac as well as some other chronic illnesses. So that kind of catapulted me into my own healing journey. But also, my home environment was a typical normal family. But looking back on it, there wasn't a lot of love. There was a lot of self-criticism and self-wounding. I'm sure the intention was good. It was so that you could better yourself and improve and whatever. But there was a lot of what they now call emotional abuse in my family. And I don't really say that very often because my family members are still alive. But those are the things that really ate away at all the self-wonderful, self-confidence, self-esteem, self-compassion, self-respect, self-appreciation, all of those. And then also the creative expression piece came in where most of my family members were artists and could draw things. And I was never an artist. Although I love to sew, I love to quilt, I love to do lots of creative things. And I guess that's where my faith tradition came in the Bible and in Christianity. It talks about God created the world and we're created in God's image. And for most people, like, what does that even mean? And for me, we are created to be creative, not artists, but creative. And that means whatever we do that shows ourselves to the world in whatever way is one of our creative acts. And so it can be artistic things, but it can also be things like setting a nice table or being an engineer or the way that you play with children or the way you respect people. It's what's inside you that wants to come out. in a creative, expressive way. So that's how I've defined it all.
I love
You
that.
can just start there because that's enough.
And it's wonderful. So thank you. And I really love it. We are created to be
Yes.
creative.
Yeah.
Makes so much sense, but yet so many people don't even realize that because it's not taught to us very young. It's not brought out. Our creative side isn't really brought out when we're really young, isn't really encouraged that much.
Well, and again, it's because a lot of times you didn't draw it the right way or you didn't do it the right way. And you carry those woundings with you. Even
Yes.
it can just be one comment one time. But if
Yes.
it sticks, it's, oh no, I was never good at that. Or, oh no, I can't draw. Or, oh no, I can't do. And
Yes.
we carry that with us. Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely. And I'd love to know, Judy, from your experience, a lot of people feel so disconnected from themselves. And a lot of it is from childhood wounding that we don't even know about, right?
Yeah.
We don't realize that it's impacting every area of their life. But what are some signs that someone's relationship with themselves might need a bit of healing?
That's a really good question. I really haven't put it in science, but I think it's mostly that we're searching for something outside of ourselves that somebody else is going to fulfill, or some other relationship or some other thing or some other experience is going to fulfill us in some way. And that right there just says that we don't we haven't developed our relationship with ourselves. And I remember younger, the trajectory is you go to school, you get married, and you have family and kids and all of that stuff. But often there didn't used to be a time when you were just on your own by yourself and have the opportunity to get to know yourself. It's like somebody else is going to be always there with you. And because of, like I mentioned, because of some of the chronic illness I've had, I didn't have the normal life path trajectory. And so that offered me a lot of time to look at myself, to see who I wanted to be, what I loved doing, what I wasn't particularly good at doing, but wanted to explore more. So there's a lot of ways that you can do it. But in the book that I wrote, the Simply Self Wonderful Inner Workout book and the card deck, I talk about MEPS. I talk about 5 areas, aspects of your life: the mental, the emotional, the physical, the social, and the spiritual. And we really need to do work in all of those areas. And I will say it's the spiritual area that I define as when the love bond is broken. So love is the big spiritual piece. And so anywhere the love bond is broken, there's a wound.
Totally. And I feel that, and it's so very true, no matter in all areas of our lives.
Yeah.
And when we
Yeah.
have that love bond that is broken, we are wounded and we have to go through whatever we need to heal that wound.
Yeah.
And that also brings a lot to, from my experience, is we start to criticize ourselves or
Mm-hmm.
judge ourselves like we're not good enough. You know, we have
Right.
those internal critical voices that keep
Oof.
going on. They
Yeah.
talk about
Yeah.
the angel and the devil, and that little devil is there criticizing
Yeah.
us or judging ourselves. But why is self-criticism such a persistent default? And default's not even the right word, but why is it so persistent, especially for people who are on a creative path?
Yeah. And I do think that a lot of it comes from society and culture and comparisons. And that's increased with social media and stuff. And people show their best face usually. And so you're comparing to some kind of ideal. And then, of course, all the distortion in magazines and the plastic surgery industry and all of those things. There's just so much that's against us. But again, I do think it goes back to when we're young. There's just not a lot of nurture. That doesn't seem to be, I don't want to make a generalization, but it just doesn't seem to, it's families want to get their kids into good schools so that they can do and produce and stuff, rather than become a loving, caring, compassionate being. There's not a lot of schools for that. So
No,
that, yeah. Yeah.
There isn't, unfortunately, there isn't.
Yeah.
And, so many people, you're talking about nurturing, and so many
Mhm.
people overlook the importance of nurturing their inner.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And even self-care. I talk a lot about self-care with my clients. And most people's idea of self-care is this extravagant stuff, having a massage or going on a retreat somewhere in the wherevers. And I'm talking about things like just remembering to breathe, or every time you walk into a doorway, you can give yourself a hug, or you can say, I love you, to those kinds of things, and lots of other things too. But self-care is it is an everyday, every moment kind of thing as well.
it is. It's so very true. Yes. We go out and we get our massages and stuff, and we have our self-care Sundays or Saturdays or whatever the day of the week. But it's really, that's caring for the physical and very relaxing.
Mhm.
But I love it. It's the little self-care things, the little self-care tips, like every time you walk into a doorway, give yourself a hug, just like that you would hug someone else that you walk into their doorway.
Yeah.
Why not give yourself a hug?
And again, it's in all five of those areas. So in the mental area, you're watching your thoughts. What are those what are those things I'm saying to myself? Like yesterday, I said something like, I was just stupid. Oh, that's just not very nice. I've red flags and things now. And then in the emotional area, when you have an intense emotion, but either you're not allowed to, or you're not in a place where you can express it and look at it and see what it's really telling you, because underneath those emotions is a value that's been stepped on. And it's like it was telling you that there's something wrong here. And yet we see ourselves as wrong for expressing certain emotions. And then, of course, physically, there's lots of things, everything from food and diet and exercise to sleep and whatever. And then the social aspect, too. I think that's one of the big things that came out in COVID, is that we did a lot of our self-care by having social contacts and social relationships with others. And some people, their self-care is being alone and in solitude and getting to know themselves as well. It all varies. And then, of course, spiritually, it's the learning the ways that you actually do love yourself, and then the ways that you wound yourself. And it's always starts with awareness. And it's okay, now I'm aware of that. What would be a loving alternative? Or what might I do differently?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I just take a moment just to honor you, Judy? Just to really honor you, because your mission is really to bring about such a better world, but one person at a time, and to increase that relationship with ourselves. And as that spreads, the ripple effect, the world can become an amazing place, because
Yeah.
it's all it is, just having a relationship with yourself. So thank you for
Well,
bringing your mission to Sacred You and to the world. And I'm calling it your mission because that's what I feel, your passion,
yeah.
passionate
Yeah.
about. So thank you. Now, you also wrote a couple of books. A book we were talking before, that you also wrote a book, and you've got a card bundle. And tell us more about Simply Self Wonderful. And do you have it with you? Let's have a look at your book and your
I
card.
do. The book is right here. It's the same thing that's on my background there.
Yep.
Yep. And then the card deck looks similar.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so simply self-wonderful just means that you are being yourself, that you're knowing yourself, that you're sharing yourself in order to reveal your true self. And you can use all those wonderful adjectives, wonderful, beautiful, talented, and many more mundane things too. But it's really all of the aspects of you, that diamond that has many facets, and each one sparkles at a different time. So it's really just revealing you, all parts of you.
Love it. I love it. Diamond that has many facets. Love it. Thank you so much. And what prompted you to create the Simply Wonderful inner workout book?
Like all things, I didn't feel simply self-wonderful, but actually I was doing some healing work with a woman, and she said, oh, you need some self-wonderful. So it was her word, and I thanked her in my book, and Kardec acknowledged her. And I'm like, what does that mean? And she says, oh, things like self-appreciation and self-love and self-compassion. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, sure, I can always use those. And then, as often happens in my creative experience, is that I wake up one morning and a whole idea has come to me. And it was like I never wanted to write a book. And so the idea was, oh, maybe I'll write a card deck. I mean, do a card deck. That just sounded fun before I knew how much work it was and all of that. And so I wrote down that I wanted to be called Simply Self Wonderful. And I wanted it to be for teenagers and women in particular, but it really is for everybody. It's really, everybody needs it. And so I thought, now, how do I illustrate some of these things? And so then I realized that I could use a mandala for each characteristic. And so I had a woman draw these lovely mandalas. And then I have in the book, there's a kind of a blurb about each one, and affirmations and quotes, and then activities in the 5 MEPS areas. So mental, emotional, physical, social, and spiritual. But I will say I did go to the dictionary and just looked under self and chose the ones, but then there were all these ones that were not wonderful. And so I ended up with 33 self-wonderfuls and 32 self-woundings. And self-woundings are really those blessings that come in the form of a wound that once you notice, pay attention to, and heal, become the real blessings. And I can see that in my own life. The wounding places are what have taken me to where I am now and really become the gifts of my mission, as you say.
Would you like to share one of those wounds?
My personal wound or one of them from the card deck?
Either, whatever you want.
Actually, the one that kind of comes to mind besides the self-judgment and the self-criticism, which are the big, huge ones. Another one that I didn't really know, I wasn't aware of how much I did it. And I'm actually turning to the page right now because I want to read the little definition, was self-loathing. That may sound this, okay, what is that? So the definition that I made for it is self-loathing is the cavernous, self-wounding black hole that denies the light of the gift of your wonderfulness. And then I go on to say it's just that underlying feeling that you are inadequate, not good enough at something or anything. And it can be subtle, yet it creates a deep hole of criticism, blame, shame, fault finding, scolding, and even prejudice that constantly berates you and tells you how stupid, insensitive, or embarrassing you are. So when I called myself stupid yesterday, it was really the self-loathing thing. Yeah, and so it was really helpful for me to identify some of these self-woundings and begin to understand what they are and how they show up, and in some ways are either sneaky or insidious. And I don't dwell on those, but then of course, the good news is that you can overcome this feeling and you can realize and you can turn it back into that self-love and that self-compassion and that self-understanding and on. Yeah.
And self-loathing is such a big part in so many people's lives. And I can see how it really does wound us. But we also have the opportunity to overcome it. So thank you again for sharing that. We will be putting all your links below. So for anyone who is watching or listening to our podcast, do click on the links and reach out and just get yourself a copy of the Simply Self Wonderful bundle, the card decks and the book. So thank you so much for sharing that, Judy. And you also describe yourself as an edge walker, someone who bridges those worlds that we live in. How does this concept show up in the way when you coach or guide when you coach others through transformation?
Yeah, it shows up in many areas. So, it shows up in the medical field. I was a part of the regular allopathic medicine world until it couldn't help me and actually harmed me much more. And so I walked the edge between the naturopathic world and the energy medicine world, and maybe dip occasionally into the regular medicine world. So there's that edge walking. And then I was ordained as a Presbyterian minister. and really have been very active in interfaith and general spirituality. And I've got that little Presbyterian piece there, but honoring and taking and celebrating other traditions are very much interwoven. And then the creative piece, again, it's just anywhere that art and creativity shows up. I talk about one of my vital practices is standing in front of great art. And by vital practice, it's not necessarily a spiritual discipline like prayer, meditation, and some of those other ones that we associate with a religious tradition. But for me, standing in front of great art is something that I need to do to keep that inner light, that inner spark alive. Otherwise, I feel dead and dull and down. So and everybody has many vital practices, and I encourage people to look at those too. So I've taken things and then edge walked with them.
Yes.
So that's just a few examples.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that. And do you have any other examples or techniques, effective techniques that you use to manage the energy and the emotions that we all experience in this world that we live in?
I will give you 3.
Yes.
The first one, of course, is grounding, but people don't really understand what grounding is. It can be a psychological thing, it can be an energetic thing, but it's really being present, connected with the energy of the earth, which actually has a slower resonance. It's called the Schumann resonance. And so just imagine that you're dropping anchors. I do it from the back of my head, from my shoulders, from my hips, from the bottom of my feet, and then just imagining that some people want to imagine roots. You can imagine anchors, you can imagine whatever. I just imagine light beams going down through all the layers of the earth. So grounding is really important. And then the other thing is, probably many of your listeners have heard about your auric boundary, but that's also it's your protective skin. And so what I do is I put a reflective protective surface on the outside so that it bounces people's energy back to them. But if it somehow gets in, then there's a practice that in the school that I go to, the Academy of Intuition Medicine, we call it neutral separations. And I'll do it with you right now, but this is one I talked about structures when I walk through a doorway or when I stand up or when I get off a phone call or a Zoom call. I will actually take my hands and I will have you in outside my aura. And then I just say, I gift you back. I do with individuals, I do 5 different things. So you're wearing blue, I'm wearing green. You're in Australia, I'm in the United States. You have blue glasses, I have brownish glasses. You have a blue scarf on, I have curly hair. I have rings on my fingers. So the neutral, nothing just the facts, nothing like, oh, that's a beautiful whatever, just facts. And then I just take my hands and with my intention, I gift you back your energy. Let's see which way, there we go. And then I turn my palms towards me and I say, I take back all of my energy. And then I take my palms like this and I ground myself in present time. And that actually deactivates the energy. The conversation is there. It just doesn't have the emotional charge anymore. And so I do that with every conversation. I do that with computers. I do that with TV. I do it with phones. I do it with whatever I can think of many times a day. And then right when I get into bed as well. And then one last one, I hope this isn't too much, but one last one is I use the Jinsen Jitsu finger holds for emotions. And that's about, there's energy meridians in each of your fingers and they each represent a different emotion. And you don't really have to even know which emotion they represent, but your thumb, if you think about it, when you were little, when you were sad, you would suck your thumb. So your thumb is for grief. And then your pointer finger, when your teacher points at you and says, what's the answer? You go into fear. So this is the fear finger. We all know what this one is because people give it to us all the time. That's the anger one. Then your ring finger, if you have a ring on it, it's often about worry or anxiety. And then your little finger is about feeling small. So all you do is you take, it doesn't matter which hand, is you just take a hand and you wrap it. I call it, you make it like a burrito. And then you just hold it for 30 seconds to a minute, and you just notice if there's any pulsing. Is it fast? Is it slow? Is it calm? And that just gives you a chance to center. And then you move on to the next one, and then the next one, and the next one, and the next one. And it actually, your body knows what to do, and it actually calms. But then what I say is that the grief actually converts to comfort. So from grief to comfort, from fear to, I'm blanking on it. I'll come back to that in a minute. From fear to, anyway, from anger to compassion, from worry to calm, and from feeling small or lack of self-esteem to confidence. So it just does its thing. Oh, fear to courage.
Yes. Yes. I love it.
Yeah. So that actually is on my website. It's a free gift on my website. You can get the finger holds for emotions. And it's, yeah.
We'll certainly be putting all those links in. So thank you ever so much. And I'll remember that too. Thank you for sharing. And because they're just little and simple techniques that we can all use. We all, in today's crazy world, we're all caught up with people, and if
Right.
you're on an island, wherever you go, and there's such a big exchange of energy, and you can feel people's energy zapping you, and then other people's energy it lifts you up. And it's such a big thing about giving back people's energy and taking back our own, and especially around tech.
Yes. And again, that's another thing that we're not taught as children. And so that wounding, that energy wounding starts really early when we're picking up some of those messages. They go to specific places in our body, and that's what creates illness over and over again until you learn how to do the protection and give it away. And that's a lot of the healing that takes place is at the energetic level.
Yeah, absolutely. It's amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Now, you actually work with people.
I do.
Yeah, but how do your clients begin to experience shifts in their relationships when they deepen their relationship with themselves?
It's pretty amazing. They just thrive. I say they flourish in life. They know, they focus in on their passion and let everything else go. They become healthier. They become more confident. They end up doing what they've always wanted to do that so-and-so said, no, don't do that. You'll never make money or whatever. And then another thing is when I do energy work with people, obviously there's healing at all the different levels. But one of the first things, and actually I should say this, add this to the neutral separations. When you start separating from other people's energy, they're going to notice. And so often what happens is if you start separating from someone's energy, they're going to call you, email you, whatever, and they're not going to know what happened, but they're going to be angry because they can no longer use your energy. And so there's a lot of, I remember doing neutral separations the first time I went home at a Thanksgiving dinner. And for me, it was great. It was the first time I wasn't really emotionally upset and whatever coming home. But the next day, I got a phone call from one of my family members. It was just interesting. We've discounted that realm for so long. And I'm really glad that it's coming back as a legitimate, vital form of health and medicine and wellness.
Energy is such a big part in our lives. We just don't realize it.
Yeah.
A lot of people, but as you said, it's slowly coming back, which is so true and so good, that how energy affects us and how we affect other people with energy. I'm sure I'm not the only person that experiences it, even with all the different types of things that are going on in our lives. Sometimes you feel that you're in a good space and you can have good conversations and everything else. And other times the energy just isn't working, and it's okay. You just have to till it does, till it shifts.
Well, and another thing is in the workplace, you can walk into a room and it's, oh, what just happened here? You can sense it. And then you can also set the energy of a room for a meeting so that you can have a more productive conflict-free meeting. And you can use energies in a lot of ways.
Yes, you can. This is an exciting conversation, so thank you. And I'll certainly be getting your book or checking out your website. Really. And I'd love to know, Judy, for someone who's listening and they feel stuck, that's stuck in that self-judgment, what is just one small step that they can take today
Okay.
in shifting towards
So the easiest thing is really just to give yourself a hug. I like to do it both ways.
Yeah.
And again, maybe it's every time that you sit down, maybe it's every time you walk through a doorway. Because I think giving a physical self hug is actually easier than people saying, I love you, Judy. That's harder for me. They say, go look in a mirror, but then you're totally exposed. So I just found that being in touch with your body, that's another thing, is that I also work with the Enneagram, and it talks about the 3 kinds of intelligence. There's the mind intelligence, there's the heart intelligence, and then there's the body intelligence. And I know that the United States and probably Australia puts a big emphasis on the mind intelligence. We're taught to thought and all that. And the heart thing is really put down, but the body intelligence isn't even mentioned. And so it's really becoming aware of you as a body, and where do you feel those wounds, and where do you feel those joys, and how do you experience that, and what does movement do for you, and what does your sleep give you? So I would say that the next step is really becoming familiar with your body. I'm giggling because in one of the self-wonderfuls is called a self-portrait. And it's not about taking pictures of yourself, but one of the activities I have is you to take your hand and then it's like you do it like a Zen doodle. You just trace it and then just do a Zen doodle on your hand. But again, that's a self-portrait of a beautiful part of you that becomes creative expression. So, yeah.
Love it. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Love it. And again, for anyone who's listening, get yourself a copy of Judy's book. It'd be really fantastic. And what do you think, Judy, in your experience, is a common mistake that people make when they're trying to fix themselves? It actually distances them from loving themselves.
I think just the word fix is the wrong word.
Okay.
There is nothing wrong with you. And I guess that may be the hardest thing for people to understand. Again, lots of people were grown up in that religious tradition that you were sinful just because of who you are. And that is blasphemy. You are a precious, beautiful, perfectly imperfect, I'll say, beloved child of the divine, mystery, sacred, benevolent universe, whatever word you want to use. And so there is nothing wrong with you. It's really more that, and that's why I like the contrast between the self-wonderfuls and the self-woundings. You may have labeled different parts of you as bad or don't work well or broken, but those again are the places that offer you the gifts and create, again, that larger totality of the self-wonderful you. So it's really learning. It's all about learning to love yourself. And I will say, when I was doing the card deck and they were trying to say, what category does this fit in? I'm like, it's about self-love. And they're like, people don't want to hear that. They're not going to respond to it. And I thought, I'm going to do that anyway, because like you said, it's a big issue. It's a world issue. If we loved ourselves and in turn could offer some love to another, we would have a whole different world.
We would totally, because I really believe and have experienced no one can love me until I love myself unconditionally, and I can't love anyone else.
Yeah.
It's all it's all in today's world. It's all the conditional love. I'll love you if you do know, and you make me feel so loved. And one day you wake up and that's not there. That doing part isn't there, so I don't love you anymore. But when it's that true, deep, unconditional love of ourselves, then it brings about a whole different things. It's self-acceptance, and we see people for who they really are, as you said, these divine beings. And we can love anyone unconditionally, and they love ourselves, and they love us.
Yeah, and that's the energetic level. That love is the energy of the universe. That's what the universe operates from. And again, the more you love yourself, the more you can love another, the more of that really high loving energy is transmitted into the world. And yeah, and counteracts the fear and the negativity and all that stuff, which is pretty hard to get rid of these days. So, yeah.
It is. And talking about getting rid of stuff, what's one belief about self-worth that you had to unlearn in order to become who you are today?
I think it would be that I wasn't loved. It really did come down to love. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't sense that in my family. I've read lots of things about the five types of love or whatever they call it. All of that. I just didn't, for a long time, I didn't really even know what love was. And really, it's not an emotion, it's an act of the will. It's a choice to offer yourself, to grow for yourself or another's well-being. It's about offering that. And I'm messing up on the definition a little bit. Bell Hooks is the one who has a book called All About Love, and her definition is in there. The will to extend oneself for the growth of one's own or another's well-being. The will to extend yourself. So again, it goes back to that creative expression place. You have to express and be you and share yourself with the world. And yeah.
You certainly do. And to extend yourself, just to have that will, just a little bit each day. So thank you for sharing that. If you could whisper just one truth into the ear of someone who is silently struggling with self-doubt, what would that be?
That they are loved.
They're loved. Yeah.
You are loved.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, you are loved more than you will ever know. When I do my benedictions after I preach, that's the first thing that I say. You are loved more than you will ever know.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Love is the word, and I'm assuming that love will be the one word that you use to describe your relationship with yourself today.
Yes.
Thank you. Now, tell us a little bit more, Judy. I'd love to know more about your card deck. Do you have it with you?
I do. So here's the box, but I'm going to open it up and then here's the little booklet that goes in the box. But this was the fun part because I am a color person. And so there are the self-wonderfuls are pink and orange and yellow.
Yes.
And then the woundings are the colors of the bruise, the greens, the blues, and the purples. And so I have the card deck in physical form, but you can also order a variation of it through Deckable, which is an app like Audible. So you can buy card decks and it has many sides. And there's also you can journal there. You can put on a timer to meditate on a card. There's a little video that has a couple activities. So I recommend that for people who don't want to get the physical deck. And then also the book is available as an ebook on Amazon. So you can actually carry the whole thing on your phone. With the Deckable app and the ebook, you can have it on your phone as well as in the physical space. And you can buy those on my website. I haven't done one to Australia, but my distribution company knows how to do that. And then, of course, it's also available on Amazon, both separately and as the bundle. But the bundle gives you the color of the cards. And then I also didn't say, but the mandalas on the card, you can also color.
Love them.
They're in the book. So coloring's a big thing for me. So
it would be. It's such a big thing for everyone, even if, as you said, that you're not an artist. You don't have to be an artist, but just to bring some color into your life.
Yeah. And I think that's another one of my truths is I joke, ban the A word from your vocabulary, meaning artist.
Because we all are. We're all creating in
We're all
whatever that may be. And it's just allowing that to come out and allowing that child to be creative and to be
Yes.
colourful and to bring colour into our lives.
Yeah.
And I'd love to go back to, Judy, you talk about being grounded, right? Which is something I really do too. It's so important. I have my grounding trees. Today I had a bit of a stressful day and I said, got to go out and hug my trees.
Yeah.
But you can also do, as you said, you can do your grounding exercises no matter where you are and still ground yourself. But for you, what is one morning or nighttime routine ritual which keeps you grounded?
One of the things that I do, I'm going to say it's grounded and bounded. So when I get into bed, I just imagine those grounding anchors, again, all along my body, just going through my bed. My bedroom's upstairs, going through the downstairs, and then growing. And I actually do a meditation where I have them go through the topsoil of the plants, the roots of the plants, the microorganisms of the plants, the water, the dead and decaying materials, the crystals, the gems, the minerals. I go through all the way through the stalactites, the stalagmites, the magma, all the way. And then I just imagine Mother Earth holding me grounded. And I often envision myself in a mud bath. Those really warm, relaxing mud baths. So that's the imagery that I use. But then I put a bubble around me, again, a reflective protective surface around me, around my bed, around my room, around my house, around my property. And so I do that every night when I go to bed for better sleep. And then also I do that for my car. I also have a bubble around my car. So the grounding and the reflective protective surface protection is really, I call it bubble bounding. Yeah, it's really important.
Thank you for sharing that. And it's so nice that to envisage and to feel Mother Earth holding you and grounding you, really. Yeah. Such a powerful vision. Thank you.
Yeah, and other images, like you said, are a tree and the tree roots. It can be a waterfall. At one point, I really needed to feel the weight of it. So I just imagined like a big freight elevator dropping me down. Not exactly beautiful nature thing, but sometimes I was desperate in the early days to really feel grounded. So really, again, your imagination, use your imagination. Use what works for you. Don't take somebody else's suggestion. Just use what works for you. Yeah.
Thank you. And if your inner child could give you advice today, what would she say?
Play. Play. Have fun with life. Have fun with life. Don't take it so seriously.
Which we all do today.
Yes.
In a generalization, we all really take life far too seriously. So
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that. And for you, Judy, if I could ask just two more questions. What does the pathway to well-being mean for you?
It is a pathway, and you walk it step by step, and your pathway is your own pathway, and the people and places and things that you need will come to you, and you'll know what's next and what's right for you.
Thank you. It's been a wonderful conversation. But is there any other question that I could have asked you?
Oh, I think you've done really well. You know your audience, so I'll trust you on that one.
Is there anything else that you would like to share?
I just really make it a point to love yourself and practice love on your pets, on your children, on other people's children, on your plants. Say love your food that you eat. Just invest love into everything that you do.
Yes.
And just see the difference that it makes.
And I agree with you. Totally, absolutely. There's been research on the water when we love our water, so how it shows up in the magnificent crystals, yet we are so much water. And imagine what would be happening inside our bodies when we love our bodies.
Yeah.
prepared to hating them. So let's start loving. Let's start a movement of loving our bodies, loving ourselves.
Yeah.
They
And then I guess just one more thing. And then I guess the flip of that would be love your mistakes.
yes,
Love the learning that comes from your mistakes.
yes.
So it's not just a one-sided thing. It's all of it.
It's
Yeah,
the whole thing. And as you said, it's learning. We wouldn't be who we are now without the mistakes that we've made in life.
exactly.
These learning opportunities and thank them and be grateful for them and love them, as you said, because it makes us who we are now. Thank you, Judy. It has been an honor. It has been a
Thank
real,
you.
real honor chatting with you. And let's start a movement of loving ourselves and helping everyone,
Yeah.
sharing those ripple effects so that everyone can have a relationship with themselves.
Yep. In small and big ways.
Thank you ever so much.
Welcome.
Wow, what a wonderful and inspiring conversation with Judy, who shared her experience of the importance of having a relationship with ourselves and making it a point to love ourselves first. If you have been listening today and something resonated with you deeply, know that you're not alone. Reach out to Judy, even if it is just for a chat. Visit her website to explore everything that she has to offer, including her Simply Self-Wonderful bundle and her finger hold free gift. All the links are below. And for more empowering conversations, tools, and strategies, do follow Sacred You on all our social media or visit our website at www.sacredu, that's the letter U, love. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button or give us a like so that you never miss another episode. In Judy's own words, we are created to be creative. No matter where you are in our world, give yourself a hug and remember to take back your own energy. Thank you so much for tuning into our podcast. Stay grounded, stay inspired, stay connected. Until next time, keep walking your pathway to well-being.